So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today, we will go through a topic which is about the author workshop for early researchers. And first of all, I introduce myself. My name is Dr. Yasmin Amr. I'm a customer research and analytic consultant. My PhD has been rewarded from Australia, and my background is as a chemical engineer. So it's my pleasure today to be with you, and please, for any question and any request during the session, please write it down on the chat box and the Q&A box, and inshallah I will follow the questions and I will answer your questions during the session, inshallah. So first of all, I need to start with who we are. I'm a customer research and analytic consultant from Elsevier. Elsevier, as you already know, Elsevier is one of the main famous publisher over 170 years. You can just classify the publishers based on the number of publications they trying to publish. The Elsevier, one of the top publishers. Of course, there are other top publishers, but Elsevier is the most top publisher from the other publishers. So Elsevier has been known as a publisher, but for now, it's a global information analytics business that is specialized in science and technology. What exactly Elsevier target or goal? They're trying to help scientists and researchers to improve their performance and advance the knowledge in the scientific community. So why they do that? They're trying to help all the researchers to solve their challenges for the benefit of the scientific community. So what exactly Elsevier now is trying to provide? Elsevier trying to combine the content that they have over 170 years. They have a humble amount of resources and publications, different kinds of resources. They try to combine these content with technology. They need to provide you a tool, or some is called platform or software, just to give you all of this information between your hands. So the main aim or the main goal of Elsevier, by combining these content and technology supported by operational efficiency, to turn information into actionable knowledge. Based on that, we can see from this slide many products or services. So I just call these products and services as tools. One of these is smart tools that specialize in a specific field. I can go through one of these, like Compendex. You can see other platforms like Novel and GeoFacets. They are search engine, they are platforms and smart tools like the search engine, but it's not Google. It's not like Google, because Google, it's not the source to have the information and to get the credible information and the trustworthy data. So Compendex, Novel, and GeoFacets, as you can see here, they are platforms that are specialized in the engineering and geoscience field. We have other platforms like Embase, Reaxis, and Clinical Key. They are specialized in the pharmacology, maybe the chemistry, the clinical field, or the medical field. So we can find from the product that provided by Elsevier some of these platforms or search engine just focusing on one specific field. Of course, one of the famous platform, you already know about that, ScienceDirect. ScienceDirect is one of the search engine of the platform, or one of the smart tools that's provided by Elsevier, that not only containing special field, but it has all the fields of science. It includes all the fields and all the resources coming under the umbrella of engineering, life sciences, humanities, social sciences. So it cover all the fields that we have in the scientific community. And we can get the full text of all the resources that's published from Elsevier. So all the data in the database of ScienceDirect is published by Elsevier. That's used to be, but now we have a new news about ScienceDirect. There are some other top publishers focusing on chemistry and transportation, trying to include their resources also in ScienceDirect. So that will be a new stage and a first stage of having more publication that can be found in Science Direct. And we will talk about that in details in the webinar of the Science Direct. Another platform here like Scopus. Scopus give us some highlights, some insights about the quality of the article, the quality of the researcher, the quality of the institution itself. So you can find the abstract of all the resources, all the publications that's published, not only by Elsevier, but published by more than 7,000 publishers. So you can find and read the abstract of all the publication that's published by more than 7,000 publishers. And it's mainly focusing on the quality and how you can use the quality to align with that target journal, and you can see what exactly the best journal for your manuscript to publish. Mendeley has been known for a long time as a reference software management, but it's more than that actually. So Mendeley, you can create an account in Mendeley. Mendeley is a free of charge platform, and this is supported by Elsevier as well. And you can create your account in Mendeley by the same credential you have if you are subscribed in Science Direct or Scopus. So if you have some credentials by your institutional email, you can log in with these credentials to Science Direct or Scopus. You can use the same credentials to create an account in Mendeley. You can make such link between your account in Mendeley and your account in Scopus if you have an account in Scopus. You can use Mendeley not only for managing the references, not only for organizing the references you have, not only for citing the references while you are writing your manuscript or while you are writing your proposal. It is a source of having more and increasing your network. It's a source of expanding your network. You will find all the people who is expert in the same field you are, and you can expanding your network. You can having some opportunities for job position. It's like LinkedIn, and you can use Mendeley as a kind of search engine as well. And this is a new feature has been added to Mendeley recently. And you can, of course, use Mendeley to find some funding opportunities, to get some funding for your proposal and your project. So Mendeley is more than a reference management, and we will have, inshallah, a separate webinar regarding Mendeley. Before going into depth to that agenda of today, please, if for any question popping up during the session, please write it down in the chat box or over the Q&A box. I will have at the end of the session, inshallah, time to reply to all your questions. And again, as always, we provide to you two links, link for the survey of today's webinar and link to get your certificate. And of course, the code to retrieve your certificate that you have attended today's session. So what about the content of today? We will go to the first topic about the academic research and publishing. The second topic is how to strengthen your research impact. And we will go through the publication process, and then we will divide the publication process into two classification, one for the research articles and what are the top tips for publishing research articles, and the other and the last topic of today is the top tips for publishing books. And we will see what is exactly the difference during the process of publishing research articles and publishing books. So what about the academic research and publishing? So we already know about academic research. It's a studies conducted for the purpose of contributing towards science. So we have many topics in science, and each topic has its main framework. So for each topic is like a puzzle, and it has a framework, it has a pieces, and you can just collect all of these pieces all together to understand the topic. Our mission, to get the contribution that we need to do our manuscript and to do our paper to publish, we need to find the missing pieces. And these missing pieces, it's really important to have the overall and to have the full view of the puzzle or of the picture. And that's exactly what we are trying to do and find during our literature review. So we're trying to do our survey, our literature review, based on a specific topic we need to know the framework. We need to know what are the pieces that already exist, and the pieces that already exist, it's likely the studies that's already published. As simple as that. If you have some studies regarding that specific topic, so these studies is already published, so that's are the existing pieces. So our mission is to find the missing pieces, and these missing pieces simply called the knowledge gaps, or the research questions, or the contribution, and that's exactly what we try to find. So the scientific method ensures the trustworthy of data. I need to get all the data, starting from the framework, starting from the previous studies that exist under the specific topic I'm searching on. I need all these data to be credible, to be trustworthy, to allocate the missing piece in the correct place. I need to prevent any false conclusion or personal opinion. For that reason, all the academic research is peer-reviewed. We have some expertise in that field. Then those expertise will try to review your article critically, which again defend against any misinformation that can be found in the literature. So the key here is to find the correct data, and to find the trustworthy data, and to find the credible data. It's nice to have research, academic research, but it's really important to publish that research. And for that slide, we have many reasons for publishing. Why publishing is important. So we have different reasons based on what exactly you are looking for. And one of these reasons are dissemination. I need to share the knowledge with the scientific community. I need to share the knowledge with the world. I need to share my findings with all the people who are working in that field. So that will be one of the reasons. It's not the first reason, but it can be one of the reasons. Maybe the other reason can be found is I need to contribute to the scientific development and the humanity. I need to do something in the humanity. I need to do something that's really important and add value to the knowledge. And one of the main important reasons here, registration of your findings. I need to register, I need to put my fingertips here that I am me and my colleagues who did that findings, who did that work. So we have this new strategy to conclude with these data. So we are registering that we are the research group from Sultan Qaboos, for example, or from any institution who did that kind of work. So that's one of the important reasons to publish. The other reason is I need someone who is expert in the field to certify my findings, to certify the methodology, to certify what I have achieved. So that's why we need to have a peer review process. And based on the peer review process, and once all of these experts who are trying to evaluate your work, evaluate and approve that you already add value to that topic, that in a simple way, it's like certification. So you're trying to certify your work. And also for academic promotion and career success, and this is really important. So just trying to be promoted from assistant professor to being associate professor, to being a full professor, or from lecturer to be senior lecturer. And all of these academic promotion and career success need some publications from your side. Of course, you need to have a high reputation, and of course, the visibility. So all we have here, all the reasons that can be one of the motivations for us to publish. So to summarize, publishing is one of the necessary steps that's embedded in the scientific research process. It's really important to have the research done, and not only putting that in the drawer. I need the research to be done, and I need to publish that research for not losing my effort and for not losing my time as well. The question now is what to publish. I need to identify exactly what I need to publish and what I don't want to publish. So it's not actually I don't want. What is not to publish? It's not permitted to be published, actually. So what to publish? You need to have new and original results. You need to have new methods, new methodology, maybe new simulation. You need to get some conclusion with new data. Or you have an updated review. So you have a review or summary of a particular subject. But just be careful that this review that you are trying to summarize or just collecting the data about that review for that particular subject, just be careful and be sure that this review hasn't been published before. So that's really tricky here. So it's okay to publish review article and publish a collecting of review data about some particular subjects. However, I have to be sure that these kind of reviews or the information in that specific review hasn't been published before. Any manuscript, any piece of information that advances the knowledge, advances the understanding in a certain field can be published. So what not to publish is any reports, any findings, any data without no scientific interest. Of course, we don't need to publish any data that doesn't base on any scientific justification. Another important thing is the out-of-date work. It's really important before starting my research, before deciding if this topic is really the topic I will work on or not, I need to test the topic. I need to see if this topic is still trending, still of interest of the science, and I need to check if this topic is not obsolete anymore, and I need to check if this topic is not out of date anymore. I will give you some tricks here. You can check and test the topic by using scopes. You can't just write down the keyword of the topic or the topic that you are just trying to testing, okay? You can just write it down on a scopus and you see from the analytics part what exactly the publications under the umbrella of that topic, what is the numbers? Is that increasing, the number of publications under the umbrella of that topic increasing year by year? If that is the way, if that is the trend you can see from Scopus, so be sure that this is still trending topic, and you can invest your time and effort in such topic. But if you find that the number of publications under that topic is decreasing year by year, so this is a highlight for you, that please be aware that this topic is not interest of the science anymore, and not investing any time or effort regarding that topic. For a simple reason, if you did effort and you did time and get some results regarding that topic, you will not find any journal that can publish your work. So be careful about that point, just checking and testing the topic before starting to work. Of course, any previously published work, it can't be duplicated. So any duplication for previously published work can't be published for twice. Incorrect or unacceptable conclusions can't be accepted by the editor, can't be accepted by the journal, and of course it can't be published. So to summarize this slide, we need a strong, effective manuscript to present your contribution to the scientific community, to allocate all of these points and to see what exactly I'm ready to do, what is the new data, what is the new methodology, what is the new results I have to work on. So I need this information by having my data, by searching for information, and I need to ask myself if I'm ready to publish or not. So if I have the original results or methods, if I have a significant enhancement of any published work, if I have an updated review of a subject or in a specific field, so I'm ready to publish and my work will advance the knowledge in the field. If I have an outdated work, if I have a duplication of published work, if I have an incorrect conclusion, in that way, I will not be able to publish and my work has no significant add and no scientific interest. To find all of this information and put my hands on the knowledge gaps, to extract the research questions, to know what is exactly the contribution that I can work on and study to get some new results, I need smart discovery tools. I will answer all your questions, inshallah, at the end of the session. So please keep going, keep writing your question in the Q&A or the chat box. So again, I need smart discovery tools. And based on that, how we can strengthen your research impact. Based on that, and what we have just stated and mentioned in the previous slides, I need to get the information in a very smart way, in a very quick way, and in a very trusted way. So I need a trustworthy information, and I need a smart tool as well. So I need to break the cycle of searching for research. And to break that cycle, the smart tools I need should have these criteria. And one of these criteria is to have the ability to find the top 3 papers to read every day without searching for them day in and day out. So this is one of the main important features that should be included in any smart tool or any smart search engine. I need the smart tool to have the power of artificial intelligence. I need the smart tool to understand my reading interest, to give me some recommendation. So if I'm looking for a specific article, and this article is my choice, and this is related to what exactly I'm looking for, so I need the power of artificial intelligence in that software or in that smart tool to recommend me about the following step. What are the following papers I need to read? Of course, I need the smart tool to keep me on track, because I have mentioned that duplication of any published work can't be published. So I need to be aware about any new outcome, any new publications coming out for that specific topic. I need to be updated with, I need to be notified. So I need that smart tool to notify me, to send me notification about any new publication under the umbrella of that topic. Another feature, I need the co-usage efficiency to be as much high as they can. And what exactly the co-usage efficiency means? It means that I need the smart tool that I use to find the information to have a variety of resources. I don't want only journal articles, but I need journal articles, I need review articles, I need books, I need book series, I need handbooks, I need textbooks, I need monographs, I need conference proceedings. So I need to have a variety of resources to have the full picture and the full answer of my research questions. And also I need the tool to enable me to read the entire article and to read all the information in a very easy way. Not only just printing PDF, I need to have something that presents to me the key highlights of the paper. If I'm just targeting the result section, for example, I don't need to go to the entire article. I just need to have that section and I go and click on that section. So that's exactly called the enhanced reader. So I need to go to that reference in the introduction. I don't need to go to the last section in the paper to see where is that reference and what is the name of that reference. It's only one click on the reference during my reading of the introduction, for example. So that's what is called enhanced reader. it enabled me to go to any section of the paper in just by one click. All of these features should be included and found in the smart discovery tools. I will give you an example of that smart discovery tool, and this example is provided by Elsevier, which is called Science Direct. Science Direct, as you can see in that pyramid, supports all stages of learning, starting from the foundational knowledge or the fundamental basic introduction for a specific topic or a specific field. Going up and up and up, you can building up your learning stages, as you can see, until getting to the advanced part here. The advanced part starting with the review journals or review articles, and then coming with the top of the pyramid to have the research articles. So all of these basics can be used by the undergraduate students, or even if you are new to that field, you will need to have some basics, and you need to build the learning of any new subject into your field. So by that way, you can get all the information from Science Direct and building the learning, as you can see here, until going to the advanced progress of the topic that can be found easily from the review articles and the research articles. This is an example here. I'm new, I'm a chemical engineering, and I'm just looking for a new topic and a new field, which is called the molecular virology. I need to build my basic learning about molecular virology in a very good way. And I need to trust the data, to trust the information, and I need to build my learning as very quick as I can. So I need to get up to speed. So to get up to speed, I need to build the foundational knowledge of that field of the molecular virology. So building the foundational and the introduction about that field will coming from the foundational books that I can find in Science Direct or any smart tool. After building that basic, after having the introduction about that field, I can just stay up to date. I need to see the progress of the topic. What are the studies that's related to that topic? What exactly they have achieved regarding that topic? So staying up to date, can I get this information from the leading journals in that topic? So by combining these informations from the basic and the advanced and the progress of the topic will give me the overall picture of that specific topic. As you can see in that slide, this is a study has been done before, and this study just proves something that's really interesting here. If you are working in the engineering field and you have found an interest in one of the articles in engineering, and you're trying to find and get the information that's really important to you from that article, by reading that article in the engineering field, you will find by reading that article that this article can lead you to reading another book in another discipline. Maybe you can read a book in the social sciences, for example, and that will open the door for what is called interdisciplinary research. And our research today is mainly interdisciplinary research. It's not depends on a specific field, but it can be intercorrelation between the different disciplines. And that's our research today. So using the books is really important, not only for building your learning, not only for having the basic science and the basic scientific principles of a specific topic or a specific field, but it also increases the impact and the quality of your publication. So this study just showing that we have more than 11 million global publications in Scopus, and 18% of these publications contain book citation. So what does it mean by book citation? It means that all of the authors who are trying to write and publish these publications used books in their information and collecting information from books, and based on collecting the information from books, they are citing books. After the study, they have calculated the impact the relative citation impact of these publications that contain book citation. They found the value of the relative citation impact to be 2.5. So what is the minimum value? The average global value of the relative citation impact is 1. And you can see that here is 2.5, which is double and a half the average value, which means that the publication that contain books have a highly impact than the publication without book citation. So that's the importance of books here. And that will lead us to ask about the publication process. So we will present today 2 kinds of the publication process, depending exactly on what you exactly want to publish. So as you can see here, this is the research articles, and this is the publication process. If you would like to publish a research article, you can see in that figure that this is the collaboration process between the author, you and me, the editor of the journal, and the reviewer. So this is the research article publication process, and I will explain in details this process. The other process of the books, if you would like to publish books or book chapters, it's another way of procedure here. It looks different than the research article publication, because for the book or the book chapters, you have to submit a proposal. In that proposal, you have to explain the title of the book, the content of the book, and why is this book will have value and give important information in that field. So you writing a proposal as you writing a proposal for any funding sponsor or a proposal for a project from the scientific community to have some fund. So you need to present the proposal in a very good way. And today, inshallah, we will go through the components of that proposal. So after you preparing your proposal, you will submit your proposal directly to the publisher. So the publisher can be Elsevier or can be any other publisher. So after preparing your proposal, you trying to submit your proposal to a target publisher, then the proposal goes through 2 levels of review. The first level is the internal editor review, and the second will be an external editor review. If your proposal has passed successfully from these 2 levels of review, you need to develop your proposal to be ready to publish. So you need to identify the recommendations from the reviewer, addressing all the comments, and get the approval from the publishing team or the publishing committee. After you get the approval, you will be at the stage you're ready to sign the contract between you as an author and the publisher, and then your book will be published. So you can see that we have a different scenario here, different procedure here for publishing a book rather than publishing a research article. So what are the top tips for publishing research articles? I will go back again to that diagram. This is the peer review process, as you can see, and I have just mentioned that this process is a collaboration process between you as an author, the editor of the journal, and the reviewer. You are writing a draft of your manuscript. So you can see sometimes you can listen to have these words: manuscripts, paper, research article. So what are the differences between that? So we can also so-called the draft of your paper as a manuscript until acceptance. So if you didn't get any acceptance for your paper, it's called manuscript. After getting acceptance and published, it's called article. So you're trying to write a draft of your paper, which is called the manuscript in that state, and you need to submit your paper into a journal. The most important step here, as we will see inshallah in the other webinar, what exactly the most appropriate journal. So I need to do my homework here. I need to make a priority list of the journals. I need to have the exact appropriate journal for my manuscript. And this is not easy, and this is not simple. And it's really important, and it is important as well as writing your manuscript. So once you have the target journal, you get the most appropriate one and select the right journal for your manuscript, you're submitting your paper. Once you're submitting your paper, it goes directly to the editor. And the editor, he will be the first one who will go through the whole article. He's reading your article, and at that stage, he can decide if this article has really a good contribution or not. If this article has really good contribution and the editor has been convinced about the conclusion you have in your article, so he will see that it's okay to assign reviewers for that piece of information. But if he didn't convince, he will reject the article. And in that stage, once the editor rejects the article without assigning reviewers, it's called desk rejection. And I will talk about the desk rejection in a minute after finishing that slide. So if we assume that the article has a very good contribution and the editor has been convinced and he assigns reviewers. Once he assigns reviewers, your article or your paper will go directly to the reviewer, and the reviewer should be expert in your field, should be aware about the topic, and then they will try to review your article in a very critical way. And after reviewing the article from the reviewer's side, they give some recommendations. And we have different options for recommendations here. The first option is having minor review or minor correction. What does it mean by minor correction? So I do apologize for the disconnection. I don't know what exactly happened. So tell me if you hear my voice now. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I do apologize again for that. You know, it's happening. Okay, so because it's already recording, so I will repeat that part. So after the reviewer coming back with their recommendation, the first option, as I mentioned, is minor revision. And the second option is major revision or major correction. For the major correction, you need to do some extra work in your paper. You need to do maybe some experiments. You need to verify your data. You need to have some validation of your data, for example, or you need to rewrite some paragraphs or add some section just to have more clarification of the information you have in the paper. These kind of amendments called major corrections. The third option from the reviewers can be revised and resubmit. And the meaning of revise and resubmit, you need to do some revision about the whole article, the entire article. So you need to do some extra work. You need to make some adjustment of the flow, maybe, of the information. So you need to revise all the entire article to be as a new one. And if the recommendation told you that to revise and resubmit, so you still have the opportunity to resubmit your article or your paper again to the same journal. Sometimes the reviewer just saying, or the editor, you can revise and don't submit it again here. So sometimes there are some people just telling you that. But if it's revise and resubmit full stop, so it means that you have opportunity to resubmit again to the same journal. The final recommendation is rejection. And even if you received any of these recommendations, you should receive a very detailed letter from the reviewers explaining why they suggesting that kind of recommendation or that kind of review outcome. And he will give you exactly what they are looking for and what are the main deficiencies that you can find in your paper. So what I want to say here, if you get rejection, you don't need to be upset or to be frustrated, because publication process is exactly like driving a car. You have lessons to drive a car, you know the rules, you know the symbols and everything, but you will not be expert in driving a car without practicing driving. So you will not be able to gain all the skills without driving the car in a practical life. So you need to practice driving to gain all the skills and to be one of the most, good drivers. So that's exactly the same scenario and the same concept about publication. You need to practice how to write, you need to practice how to publish, just to gain the skills and to know what exactly the reviewers is looking for and the editor is looking for, and to know the game. So that's what I would like to recommend here. So after getting and collecting the reviewers' recommendation, you will need to address the recommendation of the reviewer. And I need to say something here. It's really okay to agree with the recommendation of the reviewer and do what they recommend. And also it's okay to disagree with the recommendation of the reviewer, but be careful. If you disagree with the recommendation of the reviewer, you need to have a scientific justification for that. Once you have a scientific justification, please disagree, but you need to be polite in your addressing the recommendation. After addressing the recommendation of the reviewer, and you will have time to do that, the paper with the amendments and with the correction will go back again to the editor. The editor will have a look about the recommendation, have a look on the recommendation of the reviewers and how you address these recommendations. And then the editor, if the editor convinced by the way you addressing the recommendation, he can just accept it and straight away. If not, sometime the editor trying to forward again the corrected paper to the reviewers and then get their feedback. And this is exactly the whole process of the peer review process. For that slide, I would like to share with you what does the peer reviewer do. The peer reviewer just looking for three main key elements. The first element is the validity of your data. Is your data is valid in that topic? Is your data is verified? Is your data comes under the logical and the scientific principle of that topic? Is the data having the same trend that's based on the scientific principles? So that's the first thing. The second thing is the significance, what you can add What is the value of your contribution? What is the value of the findings? What is the advancement and the enhancement you have added by your findings? So how important is your work for the field? The third point is the originality, which means that this kind of work hasn't been studied before and hasn't been published before. And because of this element, we need to have a very comprehensive and robust literature review that's based on a trustworthy data. And that's why we have mentioned in the first or in the beginning of that session about the smart discovery tools. As we can see here, there are three different types of the peer review. The first type is the single blind, which is the most common in the journals. The single blind means that the reviewer identity hidden from the author, while the reviewer knows the identity of the authors. The double blind, and we can expect, what does it mean? It means that the both reviewer and the author remain unknown to each other. The open peer review means the reviewer and the author are known to each other. What is the most common type of the peer review process here for most of the journals? The single blind. So that's about how or what exactly the peer review searching for. Again, returning back to the disk rejection, I mentioned the disk rejection while I'm just explaining the figure or the graph. Sometimes, once you're submitting your article in the same day or even the day after, you get an email from the editor, sorry, your paper is rejected. And if you have a disk rejection, you will have a letter explaining the reason of the refusal, a reason of the rejection or the refusing your paper. The first common reason for rejection or disk rejection is having the peer review system being overloaded. So the editor wishes to use the reviewers only for those papers with high quality, high value, and a high rate of acceptance. And this is a valid reason. And if that is the reason, and it's rejected due to the overloaded of the system, the peer review system, that will not evaluate your work. Your work still with a good quality, but the system is overloaded, so don't be frustrated. And if that the reason, the editor will clearly and explicitly say that in the letter. The second reason of the disk rejection, that sometimes the editor saying that there is some deficiencies in the paper, and it needs some extra work to be done to have a good value. If that is the reason, the editor just don't want to ask the reviewers to spend time on that work that has a clear deficiencies or clear points that should be covered and couldn't be explained in the paper at that stage. And if that is the reason, the editor will clarify exactly that the paper needs some more work to be done and your paper will be disk rejected. So what is the common problems with submission? We have common problems here, and we need to know about these problems just to avoid them. The first problem of rejection the paper is submission of papers which are clearly out of scope. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning, it's really important to do your homework about selecting the right journal for your manuscript. Don't just submitting your paper to any journal that's not suiting your manuscript and the topic, because straight away the editor can just reject your paper because it's out of our scope. And it can happen immediately after submitting your paper, or it can take months, and then you will get an email from the editor, sorry, we reject your paper because it's out of scope. So you are losing time. And time is really important in the research process, the overall research process, because I need to register the findings in the beginning. So that's exactly really important. That's exactly why I mentioned to select the right journal. So be careful for not submitting your manuscript to any journal that's out of the scope. The second common problem is the failure to format the paper. Once you have already selected the right journal, you have to go to the website of the journal, and you have to go to what is called the guide for authors. And once you go to the guide for authors, you can read what exactly the main requests from the journal about the format and the citation style and everything. I need to align my writing with the format that's requested by the journal. If I failed in that, your paper will be rejected. The third problem here that if you give inappropriate suggested reviewers, sometimes while you are trying to submit your manuscript, they asking you about the suggested reviewers. Give us some names of some reviewers who can review your work. If you're just writing down any name that's not related to your work, this is one. If you write down this name because he is one of your colleagues, for example, if you write down any name because he is one of the colleagues in the institution that you are affiliated with, or another name that is affiliated in another institution in the same country. So if you did that, it will give some bad or negative indication to the editor that you are writing down these suggested reviewers without care, without honesty. So I need to exactly write down the names that is honestly could review your paper. Inadequate response to reviewers. As I mentioned, the reviewers give you some recommendations and you are free to agree or disagree with the recommendations. But if you disagree with the recommendation, you have to have a scientific justification for that. And you have to be polite for replying and addressing each tiny recommendation from the reviewer. If you have inadequate standard of English, that can lead to rejection. So I need to be careful about the writing and how can I write the information to deliver and convey the message in a very well, simple written English. So I need to have some of the proofreading, for example, and I have to get some feedback from my supervisor, my colleagues, even inside the field or outside the field. And if you have a rejected manuscript, never ever trying to resubmitting your rejected manuscript without revision into the same journal or even into another journal. You have to consider the recommendation from the reviewers, even it's rejected or not. That will help you by the end of the day to have a good, high quality of your paper. So to summarize what leads to acceptance, you need to be in a good position of attention to details, check and double check your work, consider the reviewer's comments by agreement or disagreement, as I mentioned. English must be good as possible. The presentation of your writing, you need to write the sections that's to complement each other. You need to write each section of the paper just to in a harmony way, in a very precise way. So the presentation of your article and the writing is really important. You need to take a time with revision. Don't be hurried and don't be quick to submit. And if there is anyone helped you in getting that findings and getting that outcome, you have to acknowledge them. Of course, you should have a new original, previously unpublished piece of information and work. You have to evaluate your own manuscript in a critical way before the reviewer doing, and all the ethical rules should be obeyed, of course. So what are the top tips for the author? I need to understand in the first step that this is a collaboration process between you as an author and the reviewer and the editor. I need to write down the paper as I'm telling a story. So I need to have that motivation and the presentation working in a harmony way of each section in the paper. I need to set up the question I'm trying to address. I need to illustrate why it's important, why it's interesting. And that can be reflected by writing carefully the title and the abstract. The title and the abstract are really critical. In the introduction, I have to focus on the basics that the reader needs to know to understand the story. And if you did some experiments or some experimental work, I have to just mention the logical steps of these experiments. Not all the experiments I have done, but only the logical and the importance experiment steps that lead to get these findings. I have to get feedback before submission, and the feedback, as I mentioned, by yourself, by your colleagues, and your colleagues can be inside the field and outside the field. The main point here is the clarity. I need my manuscript to be clear, to be understood. So that's why I need some of my friends who are outside of the field to read my paper and to tell me and give me feedback if they understand exactly what I'm trying to convey or deliver by my writing or not. If you have any terminologies or any expressions that's special to your field, you have to define them, because not all the people who are outside the field should know that. The fourth step here is spend time crafting the cover letter. And they say crafting here because you are trying to deal with the cover letter as a kind of advertisement. You're trying to advertise your work. You trying to polish the importance of the work that you have done. So it's a piece of information that you reflect how excited you are about the topic and what's the motivation and how it can add value and what is the importance of that topic in the field. So you need to be precise and be honest while you're writing your cover letter. Your cover letter is your chance to speak to the editor directly, and it's submitted with your manuscript, along with your manuscript. You have to mention why your manuscript will be special to the journal, and if you have any suggested reviewers, or if you have any conflict of interest, you have to address all of these in the cover letter. This is a sample of the cover letter. As you can see, it includes a final approval from all the authors, include an explanation of the importance of your research, and include the names of some of the suggested reviewers. And you can also include why you have chosen that particular journal for your manuscript. And that will be outcome of your homework and to select the right one for your manuscript. The last step here is the simplicity. Don't use complicated English. Don't use complicated or jargons or buzzwords. You don't need to write down many side stories, because the reader will be lost, or the reader will be confused. So I need to be targeting, focus on the main points without too many side stories. Use as simple English language as I can. So never overlook the power of simplicity. So if you can deliver the meaning of your writing in a simple way, in a simple language, just do it. So to finalize, the top tips for the authors is the importance of the title and the abstract, because they are the most visible aspect of the paper. You have to illustrate what is your story and tell it as simply and concisely and be precise. And you have to ensure the logical layout of the flow of experiments or the methodology you have. Define any unfamiliar terminology. unfamiliar expression based on the field. Ask your colleagues inside the field or outside the field to read your manuscript and give you some feedback. Avoid using complicated language if the simple language can deliver the same meaning. So that's all about publishing research articles. So what about the publishing books? The first question here is why I should publish a book. There are many reasons here, as we can see. I need to be recognized as a leader and expert in that topic, so I need to increase and enhance my reputation. I need to contribute more and stay fulfilled in my discipline, so I have interest and passion to do that. Or I need to share some new methods, some new knowledge with the next generation. So mainly I'm trying to publish a book for education. Or as I mentioned, because we have now the open door, the door opened for the interdisciplinary research, maybe some of the new topics coming up into light. So that's one of the market needs. So I need to provide a voice for an underrepresented market. So if I have a new field of interest, a new interdisciplinary topic, so I need to add the value to that topic, and I need to fulfill the market needs in that topic. So as I mentioned in the publication process of the book, I need to prepare a proposal, and that proposal will be submitted directly to the publisher. And I give you an example today about the publisher, if it's Elsevier. So how can I build up my proposal? We have the main components of the proposal here. First component, as I mentioned in the beginning, the title of your book, the topic, the market needs. So I need to identify the title, the subtitles, sorry. I need to focus on the key terms, why the readers would use this if searching for information on that topic. I need to clarify what is the purpose of writing this book. I need to know why there is a need of a new resource in that topic. And what is the problem does this book trying to solve and help the readers and the audience? That's the main component. The second component about the author credentials and reviewers. So the author should have a very high credentials to validate the market of the book idea, provide suggestions that help the development of the topic, and you have to suggest some reviewers that's expert in the field to help the publisher to evaluate and value the importance of the book that you need to publish. I need to clarify the audience. Who are the audience? I need to indicate the most relevant target audience. Is it targeting industry or targeting the academic field? Is it targeting a certain program for undergraduate or postgraduate? I have to mention all of that. And I have to list the 3 key features and content in the book that's most valuable to the reader. And if there is a certain program, as I said, certain program for a certain level and for a certain course, so I have to identify all of these details in the proposal. I have to list also the competitors. If there is some existing resources, not only books, maybe books or websites, or other information sources that can compete with the information you're trying to deliver, that can closely relate to the topic of your book, I have to list them. And after listing these competitors, I have to provide and approve that the book, my book, will be chosen over all the competitors. So I have to describe how is my book will advance the knowledge that's related to the certain topic or the certain subject against the other competitors. And the last component in in the proposal about the manuscript specifications and timeline. The beauty of publishing a book that you can write down your proposal and you can submit your proposal even if you didn't finish the whole book or if you didn't finish the whole chapter. So you can do that, but you have the full vision and the overall structure of the book. Once you have that done, so you are ready to write down the proposal and submit it. So the planned contents of the book, including all the chapter titles and the summary of each chapter, should be included in the manuscript specifications. And of course, you have the opportunity to just tell them when I should be able to finalize and complete the whole manuscript. And if you know some events or conference that will rely on the topic, and it's really important to make a promotion for the book in that event or conference, you have to mention that. Some additional requirements can be required or requested from the editors or the reviewing panel, that to have a sample of one of the drafted chapter that you have already finished. So just be careful that you have only 1, 2, 3 chapters already if you are trying to publish a book, notebook chapter, and just to have it ready for their request or asking. To summarize, what makes a strong proposal? The main point here is to identify the evidence of the market needs. I have to prove that there is a gap in the market needs and my book will fulfill that gap, and this is the evidence of that. I need to clearly define the audience. As I mentioned, is it for industry field or academic field or students, even it's for course, undergraduate program or postgraduate program? Is it for master coursework or PhD coursework? It depends on the topic. I have to well explain the approach. I have to clearly identify the approach and the key feature of the main important outcomes, or the main important addition of the value of the book that I have or I need to publish. So by that slide, I conclude the session of today, and it's time now to reply to your question. And before replying to all your question, I will share with you the links as I promised. And here are the links. For the first link is for the survey. Please feel free to write down any comment, any recommendation of any topic that we can cover it in the next time. And the second link is for the certificate. So once you click on the second link, you will write down the passcode, and this passcode will give you the opportunity to retrieve your certificate. So by that, I will just share it with you over the chat box, and then I will go to the question. If there is, okay. One of the questions, how to find the top papers, and is reading the abstract enough? Of course, reading the abstract is enough, because the abstract should contain a summary of the paper and should contain the conclusion of the paper. So abstract can lead you to selecting the most important articles for your reading. How to find the top papers? As I mentioned, you have to use one of the smart tools. So if you have Science Direct, please go and try to find the information through Science Direct. Maybe we can do another training to use the platform Science Direct and to see how we can find the recommended articles and how we can see how the sophisticated algorithm of the power of artificial intelligence in Science Direct can help us to find the reading papers. So I can't explain that today, but I'm very willing to do a separate training, inshallah, to use Science Direct. So another question, what type of papers you advise and recommend to be published by PhD students? It's a good question. Some of the PhD students doing or trying to finalizing their PhD, not like a thesis, but like a bunch of publications. So sometimes the PhD students doing or publishing 3 papers, and he can be awarded the degree by only publishing 3 papers. So you can do that by that way. Or my advice is starting, if you have a very critical topic, and the critical topic has a limited review articles, and you will do a very critical review article, I recommend to try to publish first a review article, but be careful. You need to search for review articles about the topic if it's limited, if you have an updated review, if you will have a new knowledge about your review article, just go straight away to publish review article. I hope I can answer. I already answered the question in a very good way. And please, if you didn't get the answer that you need, just ask the question again. The second question, what artificial intelligence tool do you recommend us to use rather than ChatGPT? ChatGPT actually is now forbidden from using from many journals. And the tools of artificial intelligence that exist couldn't give us the trust of the data. Sometimes the data they provided to us for the tools, the AI tools, some of these data maybe has wrong references, wrong citation, and that will lead to a very harsh problem. So I don't recommend at that time or at this moment to use ChatGPT in research anymore, because it's really forbidden from many journals. It's not announced yet by the publisher, but it will be coming soon. So that's my answer for your question. The second question, could you discuss how can I have interdisciplinary PhD thesis? It's a very harsh question. You need to have your research done. You need to know what's your background. You need to know what is the topic you need. You can find these interdisciplinary points by using Scopus, and I can clarify that in a separate webinar actually, but I will give you one tip for now. You can go to Scopus and you can write down the topic that you are just liking to work on or something like that. And once you write down the search or the keyword or the topic, you can see on the left-hand side some subject areas. And based on these subject areas, or even by using Science Direct, so we can do that by Scopus or Science Direct, you can see different subject areas at the left-hand side, and based on these different subject areas, you can identify the different fields that can be covered and related to the topic of your research. I wish my answer is clear for you. Another question, can I cite a chapter from book or even a book by utilizing Mendeley? Of course, yes. Mendeley is one of the reference management software, and you can have your own repository and you can add all the references you need. And while you're writing, you can cite. And I will have, inshallah, I will give you another webinar as a training how we can use Mendeley in citing, bi'Iznillah. Okay. Another question, do I need to follow the text format when I submit the manuscript? Or the format will be arranged by the editorial office after acceptance? There is a difference between the text format after acceptance that they're trying to re-modifying or modifying your paper to be in the form of the PDF extension, and the format that's requested from the journal about the citation style and the style of your writing once you're submitting the paper. So there is a difference here. You need to align with the format that's requested from the guide for authors in the journal website just while you are writing and submitting your manuscript. The other format to be aligned with the PDF papers after acceptance, of course, will be done by the editorial office. Another question, what are the advantages could the submitter have if his manuscript is accepted to be published in your databases? As far as I understand from the question, the main advantage that your paper will be reachable, your paper will be findable by all the researchers who are working in the same field, because ScienceDirect database is reachable by most of the institutions and universities from over the whole countries. So that's why Elsevier publication giving you some credit to be cited, to be reachable. And of course, Elsevier journals accept the high quality of information. So if you have been accepted by one of the most famous publisher like Elsevier or Springer or Wiley or other kind of publisher, that will be a good point for your research that you have a high quality of research. How can I have evidence that this is a gap? The main evidence you have is your literature review. Once you have a very robust literature review, recent review, you need to include recent publications. And while you are trying to read the recent application, you can see the gap, and that is the only evidence you have. Another question, can I republish a paper or a book in a different format? Can I republish? I can't understand exactly your question, but what I can expect from your question that you are asking about the format itself can be changed from one journal to another. If this is your question, yes, of course, you have to align with the other format. Yes, perfect. So if there is another journal, you will submitting your paper to another journal, and the other journal having a different request of the format, of course, you have to change the format of your paper. And that's why you need to use one of the software management like Mendeley, references software, just to make the process to changing the citation style and the format of your writing easier. Inshallah, we'll do that in a separate webinar. How can I prove that for the editor? Prove the gap. Is that what I understand from you? So how you can prove that is a gap to the editor? The only proof, as I mentioned, is your literature review. If the editor didn't convince about that, he should clarify that to you in officially in a letter, and you have the opportunity to reply to that. So replying to the editor, if he didn't or don't convince about that, you can just attach all the documents you have, or attach the paper and the recent paper that approve and that states and mention that is still a gap. So this is the only way. And if there is nothing happened with the editor, I don't know what I should say, but this is the only way, just having a scientific justification for your evidence. And based on that, inshallah, you will be convinced. Okay. So I think I tried to answer all your questions. If you are happy with my answer, if you need to answer the question in another way, please let me know. Thank you. Another question. Is it acceptable to ask the editor about the reasons for rejecting the article? Actually, the editor should explain and clarify why he is rejecting the article. It can be for the overloaded system or the overloaded process. It can be for deficiency in the value or the contribution of the paper, or it can be out of scope, as I mentioned. So he has to identify the reason. If not, yeah, it's acceptable to ask him about the reason. But sometimes if he didn't provide any explanation for that, he will not answer to you. So just be careful for not wasting your time trying to understand something that's not explained. Sometimes most of the editors are very busy, but as I told you, as far as I know, the editor should mention in the rejection letter the main reason and explain why he rejects the paper. Okay, do we need to pay money in order to publish? That's a really good question. Thank you for that question. Most of the journals are classified by subscription or subscribed journals and what is called open access. Only the open access journals who needs to pay money to publish. So these open access journals, there are full open access, so they don't provide a subscribed journals or subscribed publication. It's totally open access, and they are called gold open access. So for gold open access, yes, you need to pay to publish. But if you have other journals that provide the subscription and the open access feature, you can publish by both ways. Even if you have fund, you want to publish open access. If you don't have fund, you have to publish in the subscribe model. So what is the difference between the publication by open access journal and the publication by subscribed journal? The open access journals, because you're paying money to publish, your publication will be visible to all the people without subscribe to any platform or any journal. So that's the main advantage of open access and paying money to publish. Your paper would be reachable by the whole world. If you are publishing in a subscribed journal, you don't need to pay anything. It will go through a peer review process, and your paper will be reachable by using, for example, Science Direct if you publish by Elsevier, or if you have published in a very good journal and high value, so you can find your paper indexed in Scopus. So that's the way that the people can find your publication if you have published as a subscribed model. So I wish I could explain and answer your question. And if I didn't, please re-ask me again. Okay, so that's perfect. So any questions so far? All good? I wish that you have a quite interesting time with me. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your attention. And inshallah, seeing you in another webinar. And as I promised, I will try to plan for other webinars regarding Mendeley and training for science direct usage as a platform, and how we can identify the different subject areas, as one of our colleagues today asked about. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to having all of you again, inshallah, in 11th of April, inshallah. And have a lovely rest of your day, if you have still time, and a lovely suhoor, inshallah. Thank you, everyone, and see you in another time, and good luck.